if you practice openness, eventually the ability for you to receive when the time is right will come to fruition.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes those things might take a very long time.
Yeah.
But that's okay if you are consistent, you practice that openness.
Hey, thank you for joining me today for this episode of the God Seekers Podcast. My guest today is Genevieve Collins. You're going to love her. You're going to love what she's got to say. We're going to talk about her life and talk about all the things that prepared her to where she is today. She's run for Congress, got over 150,000 votes, and now she's still involved in the public policy realm, and you're going to love hearing her perspective and even more so about her relationship with Jesus. Well, welcome to this episode of the God Seekers Podcast. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. I'm Joe Martin Jr., and my guest is Genevieve Collins. Genevieve, it's so great to have you and be here. And man, we've been friends for a very long time and been waiting for this moment for so long. And I'm glad that we finally made it happen. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here, truly.
Yeah, it's going to be fun today. The vision that we really have for this, and I told you about this during the break, is just that, we want to have the kind of meaningful conversations that people can, find hope in, that people can find encouragement in, that people can, be in awe of what God has done in people's lives, and really just enjoy and join that human experience of, hey, why God made us human in the first place is that we have meaningful lives, And you certainly have a unbelievable resume. And this morning I got Chad to help me, but I want to just take just a moment and just read a little bit on your bio, and then we'll get started.
Sure.
Is that okay? Good. Genevieve is a 7th generation Texan, a business leader and a policy innovator. She currently serves as a state director for Americans for Prosperity here in Texas, leading initiatives to expand healthcare choice, improve education, and deliver meaningful tax relief to everyday Texans. Genevieve is a former Republican congressional candidate for Texas's 32nd congressional district. She spent over a decade in the private sector, helping scale an educational technology firm into one of the largest in the nation. As a public policy innovator, she brings both private sector experience and a big passion that you have for public service. You've kayaked through Antarctica, you've climbed Kilimanjaro, you've got adventures all over the world, and you are a lifelong resident of Dallas, Texas. You are, as I said before, a 7th generation Texan. You've earned your MBA from Southern Methodist University here in Dallas. You competed as an NCAA Division I rower at the University of Tennessee. And your grandmother was the very first woman elected to the Dallas City Council way back in 1957. You come from an amazing family.
I do. I'm blessed.
Genevieve is married to Dwight, a rocket scientist and a friend of mine, and they have recently welcomed their first child, Duke, into the world. And he is the 8th generation Texan in your family.
Come on.
Wow.
I know.
Wow is wow, right? And little Duke is just 3 months old now, right?
He is, and absolutely the light of my life.
What a world changer, right? I mean, it just changes your whole world.
It does. Having a child just simplifies and narrows and focuses your perspective.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I was thinking about, well, what are we going to talk about during this whole thing? And one of the things I kept thinking about is our journey to get pregnant was not terribly difficult, but had challenges. Right. We had to go through IVF to get our son, but I just kept praying the entire time to get pregnant and then being pregnant, just let this child be a lamb of the Lord.
Yeah.
That was my prayer every night. I can't wait for him to be a lamb of the Lord and to follow the destined path that you have for him. Yeah. Now that he's here, it's just like, oh gosh, now we have to help guide his little path so he's a good lamb.
That's right. And just to have a child, you see that baby for the first time, you just can't deny there's a God in heaven.
Oh my gosh.
It's so, everything's perfect about them, their little fingers, their little toes, and it's just such a moment, that it's awe-inspiring and it's emotional and it's just, it's a life-changing thing for you.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
And that God's given you, he's given you this stewardship of this life. And this baby's born with the potential to be anything and everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so, the Bible says that we should train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he gets old, he'll never depart from it. And I've come to realize that every child has a way in which they should go. And one of the things I think about being a parent is really discerning and discovering the way that your child wants to go. We had friends, I'm sure you did in college, I did, whose parents were pushing them to be a lawyer or pushing them to be a doctor, but they really wanted to do something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they had a different way. And so finding Duke's way will be an adventure and be exciting, and it's just going to be really a happy time for you and Dwight.
Thank you. Well, fortunately, we have a tribe of people committed to this child's life, and you're certainly one of them, and I'm very grateful for that. But this child's going to be, he's so blessed beyond any belief, beyond my wildest dreams, that it's going to be exciting to watch how many people pour into him and how he listens and to their coaching and their guidance, and how he sees the world and how it's changing so fast, but that the people around him, the relationships, those deep relationships, are going to be what matters most.
Yeah. You think about the world that he's going to grow up in. If it's been as much change as the one that I've grown up in and the one you've grown in, it's going to be a lot of change and a lot of things. And so it's really critical, that our kids have a firm foundation, so they're not moved by every wind and every doctrine and every crazy thing that's out there.
Indeed.
And you and Dwight are going to
Thank you.
You're going to excel in that. You're going to do awesome. Let's, Genevieve, I just want to start just by letting our listeners get to know you. Why don't you share a little bit about your upbringing? I mean, you are a Texan, and you were born and raised here.
Yeah.
And so what was your early life like, and how has that shaped you today?
Well, I would say my early life was not without many challenges. And I think that I'm so grateful as I reflect back. I mean, I'm almost 40, so it's not that I have this long lifetime of experience, but I say that, I got a lot of challenges and hard stuff on the front end, which has made the back end of my life so far much more enjoyable and more focused and directional. And so what I say by that is my parents, I don't have a memory of them ever together. And so they divorced when I was 3.5, and my mom shortly remarried when I was 4, and my dad has never remarried. But my growing up was really, it was just hard. There's no other way to say it. Unfortunately, my sister and I were pitted against each other frequently. So one was the good daughter, one was the bad daughter. Because I'm very stubborn, I've still never found a rule I like, so I was the bad daughter. That's only because I just didn't like following rules.
Sure.
I still don't. But that being said, it just made a home life very challenging. And then we did not have a relationship with our father. My mom remarried my stepfather, and we just had a very insular family. And it was our little nuclear family, my sister, my stepdad, my mom and I, versus my dad. And it was always this us versus them mentality, or me versus you mentality that I grew up with. And it culminated with a lot of, really challenging things that my sister and I did. Specifically, I believe that we were brainwashed to believe that our father was the devil. You and I've talked about this.
Right.
And because we grew up in a very secular home, I would say it wasn't even secular. It was just a home that had no faith.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it lacked a moral foundation. We understood what good and bad was. There just was not a faith component to it.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it just made growing up somewhat rudderless.
Yeah.
And I ended up having a terrible relationship, or no relationship, with my father.
Yeah.
I testified against him in court when I was 13 for 2 hours. And I didn't know any better. Unfortunately, like so many kids of divorced parents, you are a pawn in an adult game.
Yeah.
And as you grow older, the lights kind of turn on, but when you're 9, you don't know any different.
Right.
And so, and I'm not saying my dad was an angel by any means, but I also think that, when you're a child, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you just follow whatever your parents tell you.
That's right.
And without having a strong foundation and just in faith and in what is light, I found darkness really early in life.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to say it. Then I got kicked out of my mother's house a number of times. It's again that rural thing I struggle with.
Yeah.
And by the last time I was 15, and I didn't have any relationship with my dad, but I had nowhere else to go because I really didn't have any friends and wasn't encouraged to have a lot of friends. And so I said, I don't have anywhere to go, so let me call my dad and start visitation. And at that point, that was the single greatest moment of my life. I really kind of say, I didn't get a childhood. I don't have a lot of happy memories of my childhood. Not that it was bad. I mean, I had a wonderful roof over my head. I was provided for. I'm very grateful for those things. But I was just emotionally lost.
Yeah.
And when I was 15, my dad saved my life just by saying yes.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah.
That's almost like abusive. Right? It was psychologically abusive and
it was emotionally and psychologically abusive. Every
and your
day,
mother's no longer married to your stepdad, right?
No, she's not.
Yeah. And so she's come out of that world too.
She has.
Yeah.
And is much happier as well.
Yeah.
But, every day when you're told for 10 years, almost on a daily basis, that you're dumb, fat, and lazy, you kind of start to believe it. Mm-hmm. And maybe one of those things was true because I was kind of lazy. I loved watching TV and eating.
Sure.
Together, especially. But, it was abusive. And I didn't have a way out. And then when I got kicked out of the house, I think God just finds ways to move you in a way that is jarring and to put you in a different situation for you to find help.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And I called my dad and he didn't flinch. He said, I'd love to have visitation. Let's start. And then I never left.
Wow.
And he saved my life.
Wow.
100%.
And you found out he wasn't quite the person that you'd been led to believe he was.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I found out he is a man with so much heart, so much generosity and kindness, super smart, and is a great confidant. And ultimately, we've ended up becoming each other's best friend through that process. He helped, as you said, as a parent, you try to help find your kid find their path. Mm. And I was roaming in the wilderness for, the first 15 years, and my dad helped me find my path, which ended up being competitive sports, specifically shooting sporting clays and shooting skeet and sporting clays. And then ultimately I found rowing, which totally charted a different course in my life. But I would say I needed a father. Mm-hmm. And by the time I was 15, my dad and I were both ready. He was ready to be a dad, and I was ready to have one.
Wow. That's a fantastic story. Let's go back to your stepfather and all that. How have you, now that you're way on this side of it, when you look back at those days, do you feel like, how do you feel about all that now? Is it forgotten, or have you just moved on, or have you really dealt with it, or how do you handle that?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if this is the right word for it, but I feel conflicted because I have very much dealt with all of that kind of trauma. Mm-hmm. And I don't use trauma in its typical sense, but there was just a lot of lingering feelings. Right. And I say I'm conflicted because I appreciate and respect some of the things that he really provided and did for me. He helped create a work ethic that I didn't even know I had. Mm-hmm. And he demonstrated to me, how to sell, which ended up being a huge value for my adult career. Yeah. he taught me a lot of skills that have benefited me as I've gotten older. And for that, I'm like really actually thankful. Now, on the other side, there's a lot of stuff that I really don't like, but I just decided, you know what? I'm going to forgive him because I think ultimately, I think he and my mom thought that they were doing what was right. But if I don't forgive him, it's going to tear me up, not him.
Right.
Now, we don't have a relationship, but I don't wish ill on him.
Yeah.
It's part of my experience, but I just feel like I had to forgive both he and my mom for what they did. And I'm very content with that. I'm like, I feel nothing as I look back at that's part of my life. I just have no feelings.
You can remember the situation, but you don't have a negative feeling towards it. And not a positive feeling either, just no feeling.
Yeah, it's just kind of no feeling. But ultimately, like, I really had to work hard at forgiving myself for being misled, forgiving my mom for allowing a lot of really bad things to happen to our family, and, you know, forgive my stepdad for creating a lot of this turmoil. And ultimately, it's like, I want to live a life that's free.
That's it. And ultimately, there's somebody out there right now listening to you who has this bitterness, this hurt, this trauma still living inside their heart, their chest. What would you say to them? How did you find the courage to forgive them? How do you do that?
I mean, you're probably much more equipped to help people do that than I. I mean, this is what you do for a living. I think, in my opinion, I'm really good at compartmentalizing things. And so that's probably one of my like secret sauce skills. But I just decided, you know what? I'm going to put all of this stuff into a box, and I'm going to look at that box. And I'm going to say, I'm going to let that go because it's not serving me. I don't want to be shackled. I want to be free to move and design my own life based on the values that I have dear, that I hold dear. And to have someone else's values, or I guess the chains that they have wrapped around you, is completely limiting to yourself. And you're actually the one that holds the chains at the end of the day.
That's right.
Right? It's like that imagery, like that's how I think about it. It's like, okay, am I wrapping myself in these chains that I refuse to let go of? What if I just open my hands, you know, and just say, I relinquish this. And ultimately, I can be grateful for the good that happened, but I can also recognize that there was a lot of bad. And I've just decided for me that understanding that bad things happen to good people is a fact of life.
Yeah.
But I can use those bad things to be better for myself and to say, like, I don't ever have to repeat that, but I can be grateful that I had a lot of real challenges early in life because now I have a unique, enhanced perspective as a teenager, as a 20-something, as a 30-something-year-old. I know what real painful family life looks like. And I know how it just drains everybody. And I can say, like, I'm glad I got that out on the front end because now I can design a beautiful life for my own family.
I love that. And you have a very talented and very accomplished sister.
I do.
Yeah. How did she handle all this? Because she's your older sister.
She's older,
by
yeah. By 3.5 years.
3.5 years, yeah.
You know, it's amazing how two people can grow up in the same house and have two very different experiences.
Yeah.
Have you had people say that before?
Yeah.
You know, I think she's dealt with it in her own way. I am the emotional one in our family, and she's much more stoic about her emotions. So I think she's handled it in the way that makes sense for her. But she had a very different experience.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that it was certainly full of turmoil. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that it was. And she suffered a lot of like emotional abuse as well and psychological abuse, just in a different way. So we don't talk about it. It's kind of one of those things. It happened.
Yeah.
We don't need to rehash it.
We've moved on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. She's firstborn. And usually firstborn are a little more compliant. And so you came along maybe not quite as compliant and had a different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's good at following rules, turns out.
Yeah.
She's very content with that.
So at 15, you move in with your dad.
Yeah.
You start a new high school.
Yeah, I started at Highland Park High School.
Yeah. And let's talk about rowing, because I know that's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
I know you were lettered for 3 or 4 years at University of Tennessee as a rower.
Yeah.
And I used to do a lot more than I do now, but I used to go out and run around White Rock Lake every morning. Yeah. And so you'd see the crews out there rowing every morning. You could hear the coach, talking through the megaphone to them,
Yeah.
And I've always been intrigued by it because, I came from a little country school. I mean, we, not the only boat we had was a boat to go duck hunting with, know. So how did you get involved with rowing? I mean, you've helped them build a facility at White Rock Lake. You've done so much, but how did you get started rowing? How did that come about?
So part of the story of becoming closer with my dad actually begins before I moved in. I decided that I liked shooting guns.
Mm-hmm.
And my mentor and his business partner, she used to be a competitive shooter, air rifle, when she lived in Argentina.
Oh, wow.
Her husband was a big executive at Arthur Anderson, and she was his wife, and she was like, well, I need something to do. So she ended up shooting with the Argentine national team.
Wow.
And was really good.
Wow.
Now, she's from Kentucky, so she has nothing to do with Argentina.
Right.
But anyways, she and my dad got connected at business, and I was like, I kind of want to start shooting. And so as a little group, we 3 went to the Dallas gun range together. Okay, so why does that matter? Because my shooting coach was a Scottish man, and he also coached a woman named Mary Fox, who was the SMU men's rowing coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I just saw this cool movie, and it's a total teeny bopper movie, but I'm 15, so why, whatever. It's called The Skulls, and the opening scene of that movie is a rowing race. It's what we call a regatta. And I just thought, wow, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to try that, and boys do that. So I'll go try it out.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that Dallas didn't really have a public rowing club at the time, but I found one, and it just so happened, this is how amazing God is. So when I got kicked out of my mom's house was the exact same time that I started rowing, because I'd signed up to go to this little 2-week camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, Dad, can you take me? Can we do this? And so I would talk to him about rowing every night for the first 2 weeks of us ever living together.
Oh, wow.
And it ended up being how he and I really grew together is through athletics. And so it's just kind of amazing how all of that kind of connected. And I started the rowing team at Highland Park High School. It's now turned in 23 years later, into Dallas United crew.
Yep.
So my vision was that this should be a citywide rowing program. But if we start at Highland Park High School, there's never there's not another public high school that can probably afford a rowing team.
Right.
Other than Highland Park. So I was like, well, let's use this asset to our advantage.
Yeah.
So my shooting coach connected me with Mary Fox, who helped me find our rowing coach at 15. Under no circumstance should any of these things happen. I personally hired our rowing coach. I opened a bank account. I managed the books. I negotiated the contract. I'm 15. What do I know?
Yeah. Wow.
I negotiated the contracts for us to rent the SMU men's facilities, their boats, their oars. So I negotiated all of this and recruited 40 kids to start a rowing team.
Oh, my gosh.
Who does that?
Yeah.
So all that being said, it ended up being this huge success where, because we rowed in like 20-year-old men's equipment.
Yeah.
And when you're high school girls and you weigh, 130 pounds soaking wet,
Right.
it turns out when you travel and you rent other boats that are brand new, you practice in really old stuff, you're really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we didn't even know.
Wow.
So we would compete against colleges because there weren't high school rowing teams. And so anyways, we ended up like going to the nationals.
Wow.
And I ended up getting recruited. It ended up being this to the University of Tennessee. I got recruited, and it ended up being this amazing sport that has blessed so many people's lives
Yeah.
and helped so many kids, not just at Highland Park, but all across Dallas get scholarships to go to college. And it's ended up being just this amazing thing that I just thought looked cool.
Yeah.
And so I recruited a couple people, helped me start a team, and then we're off to the races.
That's amazing.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is wild.
Who does that?
I don't know. I mean, that's you,
I don't
right?
know, yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, I guess.
Wow.
I just never saw no for an answer. I think
Yeah.
it's like part of that like stubborn streak. Like,
Yeah.
why do you think I can't do this?
Yeah.
Like I went and pitched the president of the bank
Yeah.
why I should have a bank account.
Yeah.
And why I can manage the books and like how I will be responsible. My dad was not in the meeting.
Wow.
Like he dropped me off. He said, "Go get him."
Yeah.
What do I know?
That's great. So, today, I go by the club today, and I mean, there's, 40, 50 kids out there rowing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really good, and they're from all over the city. They're from every ethnicity. They're all ages. And that's what's so great about rowing is that not only for women is it the great equalizer in Title IX sports, because football, you can give a gazillion scholarships, but you have to have like at least 85 people on a football team. Rowing, you have to do the same.
Yeah.
So you have your recruited athletes, and you have your novice athletes in college, and they're all women. And so it's the great equalizer to football for women's sports.
Oh, wow.
And that's why so many colleges have rowing teams now, because they can give a lot of scholarships. And it's a great opportunity for any kid. And, I got almost an entirely free education. I got to compete at the highest levels. I've competed for 3 NCAA championships.
Yeah.
I've won the hardest race in the world, the head of the Charles. And, I was on the Olympic development team. Like I got to do everything I wanted to.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even know I was athletic.
Wow. Wow.
Like when you were a kid, did you know you were an athlete?
No.
Like, could you do anything?
No, well, not much. Every summer
In Hickory Valley?
Hickory Valley, yeah. So we spent the summer hauling hay and working cattle, and so 2 weeks before school started is when we started football 2-a-days.
Okay.
And so, but my experience wasn't quite like yours.
Well, I didn't even know I was an athlete until I was 15.
Yeah.
I loved eating food and watching TV together. That was like my favorite sport and hobby.
Wow.
Yeah. So it turns out you can be an athlete at any age.
Yeah. So tell me about being recruited and going to Tennessee. I mean, I always thought I'd end up at Tennessee. I grew up I grew up outside of Memphis on a farm, and I always thought, I remember I went to the Liberty Bowl one year when Tennessee was playing Maryland.
Okay.
So it's been a long time ago. And so ever since that game, I wanted to be a Vol. And
what happened?
Yeah. Well, what happened was my senior year, I had my dorm room. I was registered. I was all ready to go to Tennessee. This was like in December of my senior year in high school.
Okay.
About into February, my dad said, "Have you thought about Ole Miss?" Out of the blue, he just said, "Have you thought about my dad went to Arkansas."
Okay.
He said, "Have you thought about Ole Miss?" And I said, "No, I really hadn't thought about it." He said, "Well, it's only 60 miles from here." So I live right on the Mississippi
really
border, right?
Yeah.
And so 60 miles south is Oxford, Mississippi, Ole Miss. It's 300 miles to Knoxville.
No, it's a journey.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I said, no. He said, well, why don't you go down there? Well, I knew one girl on campus. She was a little girl from my little hometown, Hickory Valley. And I knew one girl down there, Robin. Her name was Robin Powell. And so we called Robin, my best friend in high school, and I called Robin and said, look, we'd like to come down to Ole Miss. Can you help us? And she said, "Oh yeah, you can come down and stay with my boyfriend. He has an apartment off campus, and you can stay there. I'm sure he'd be glad to have you."
Yeah.
So she said, "Why don't you come up in, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks?" And there was some big party that they had at Ole Miss. In those days, they called it Dixie Week. They don't call it that anymore. But anyway, so I went to this party, and it's I don't know, 3,000 students, at the lake, and then they retreat back to their fraternity and sorority houses, and they have all these bands and all this stuff. So it's a big weekend, kind of spring weekend. And so went, and it was actually the first time I'd ever really been on campus. I'd never seen so many pretty girls in one place in all my life. And what cemented the deal for us is we could not find her boyfriend at the end of the evening.
Okay.
So we ended up going back to her sorority house.
Oh, sorry for your troubles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we ended up spending the night, there. And,
oh my!
Oh gosh, it was. I mean, we were like, kids in a candy store.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up staying there. I'm sure she would have gotten in trouble if anybody found out. And so when I went back home, I said, "Dad, I'm going to Ole Miss."
Yeah, you never looked back. You're like, "What is orange? Rocky who?"
That's right.
Yeah.
So I never thought about it again. I went straight to Ole Miss. They gave me a scholarship for there in the springtime, and I went through 4 years and 3 summers there. Yeah. It was an amazing experience for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
And then when I graduated from there, I moved here the day after I graduated, just for the summer, and I've never left. So I tell people, I wasn't born here like you. Yeah. But I got here as fast as I could.
You've been here long enough.
That's right.
You're a native at this point.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've always been like a little bit twinged. I'm like, how can you be from Hickory Valley and go to Ole Miss, like instead of going to Tennessee? Yeah. But
now you know.
Boys will be boys. Tennessee was awesome, though. I loved it. There was not a single person that I knew that went to Tennessee.
Same way with me at Ole Miss. Yeah. I didn't know so.
Didn't know so.
Yeah.
I just showed up, and my dad and stepmom, they put me in my dorm, and my dad was totally useless. They had to build. My stepmom built like the little bunk bed. I'll never forget it. And my dad's like, "What's a bolt and a nut?" But anyways, it was an amazing experience, and I really chose Tennessee because I got recruited to a bunch of universities, and at the time, Tennessee had a top 10 D1 program, and I thought, if I have the chance to compete against the best, I want to see where I stack up. Yeah. I'm hyper competitive. Yeah. And that was really my motivating factor. Like, I don't really remember learning a lot. I remember working out a lot in college. Mm-hmm. I remember just discipline and what that looks like, and winning and losing. I remember very certain things. I couldn't tell you what I actually learned in class, but I think it's not that I wasn't paying attention, but just when you're a student athlete at a big time university, the expectations. And when my dad and I went up for my recruiting trip, you'll appreciate this. So there's a woman named Joan Cronin. When I was at Tennessee, which was 2004, Tennessee was one of 3 universities that still had its own women's athletic department. Mm-hmm. It was like Cal, Tennessee, and one other school. And Joan Cronin came to lunch with me and my dad and my soon-to-be head coach. And she looked my dad straight in the eye. She's from Louisiana. And she said, "Mr. Collins, we have 11 sports here at the University of Tennessee. Last year, 9 of them went to the NCAA championship. The other 2 coaches are on notice." And steely blue eyes, looked my dad straight in the face. And my dad kind of took a little jump back. And I remember him asking in the car, he's like, after that, "Are you sure you want to go here? This sounds really intense." And I thought, it's Pat Summit, it's Rocky Top, it's the whole Lady Vol experience. Yeah. And if I'm good enough, let me see how good that really is. Yeah. And it turns out, ended up being pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah. And what event was your event? I mean, you'll have to explain to us where you got skulls, right? You got all these different.
I'm impressed that you know some.
Well, because I saw the movie, you know, the Boys in the Boat.
Yeah.
So I saw the movie. So.
Okay, great book.
Yeah.
So there's two different types of rowing. There's sculling and there's sweeping. The easiest way to remember it, sculling, you have 2 oars.
Mm.
Each person has 2 oars. Sweeping, you have 1 oar. So the movie or the book, Boys in the Boat, they all were sweep rowing.
Sweeping.
And so, kind of like, you have this big arc, you're kind of sweeping the water. That's kind of how they talk about it. I did everything.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to be kind of a little bit of a Swiss Army knife so that I could have more value in any lineup.
Yeah.
So the premier races, like they talk about in the book, The Boys in the Boat, the premier race is being in the 8. It's also the best race because you have more people. The races are, because you have more people, the races are shorter in time.
Yeah.
You go faster, so it's shorter in pain.
Yeah.
But so I did the 8s, I did 4s, I did doubles, which is 2 people in sculls. I did singles, which obviously you have 2 oars. I did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And my best event, I was on the Olympic development team for the doubles, which was sculling, so one other person in the boat. But it just takes a lot longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of like, oh man, I need to be good enough to get in the 8 so I can minimize my time of lactic acid pulsating through my body.
Yeah. You know, you watch those things, and at the end of the race, here are these guys who've trained, and they get to the end, and they're throwing up over the side of their boat. I mean, gosh, that's intense, huh?
It is so intense. You know, I feel like rowing, I was destined to be a rower because, like, I always choose the hardest path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I never choose the wide path. I always choose the narrow path, not the easy path. That's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
But like rowing, it looks so beautiful and rhythmic. And when you're an observer of it, you're like, wow, that's just a really beautiful looking sport, right? Whereas if you're in it, it is lactic acid. Your body changes over from aerobic to anaerobic capacity within 45 seconds.
Wow.
Like, it is pain. It is every single muscle in your body, every fiber being pushed because, you know, you use every muscle, your legs, your back, your arms, and it is like chaos in the boat.
Yeah.
And you're trying to keep the boat flat and set, you know, so you're not sloshing up, down, and backwards. You have a tiny person with a Napoleon complex yelling at you, you know, we call that the coxswain, you know, telling you to stay on time, what the race plan is. I mean, it's just chaos. Yeah. And so it's like, if you know how to manage chaos internally, while externally everything is kind of staying afloat and looks beautiful, you're going to get through life pretty well.
Yeah. So you were from a very early age, you learned how to do that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I was like destined for it.
Yeah.
I thrive in chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm ready for that.
Wow. That's amazing. And it's amazing because it endures all the way to today.
Yeah.
Which I want to get to in a few minutes, but I mean, you know, God doesn't make any mistakes.
No, he does not.
And, you know, I was thinking about just a minute ago, just thinking about the way you were raised and the experiences that you had, the trauma that you had to go through and deal through. And I was just thinking about that passage in Romans 8:28 is really clear. It says, and we know all things work together for good to those who love Jesus and are called according to his purpose. And you've found that out for sure. I mean, you've seen that. You've found it out. And there might be people out there listening and think their life is ruined. It's over. It's not.
No.
You could take your what you think's a ruined life and make it a stepping stone to a life of meaning. But you just have to make some decisions. You have to decide you're not going to cave in. You're going to overcome.
Yeah, I think people, in my experience, I mean, I now work in the business of politics, which is, you know, a combat sport.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have no fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a real struggle for a lot of people. You know, people, how am I going to be judged? What is this going to look like? You know, how do I say X, Y, and Z and not sound stupid?
Mm-hmm.
People are, I think, oftentimes consumed with fear, whether it's their finances, their marriage, their business, how they talk about things, right? Fear encapsulates people in so many, and manifests itself in so many different ways. And I think it's kind of like one of those things I was talking about earlier. You got to be able to compartmentalize and put that in a box and say, I'm going to put that on a shelf and I'm going to not visit that because fear doesn't serve you.
That's right.
And so that's kind of how
it's a tyrant.
It is a tyrant.
Yeah.
And so, but like, why? When God has so clearly designed our lives, not without challenge, but that challenge sharpens us, like, why would you be fearful? Like, if someone's listening to this, like, put the fear away. Make the choice. It's like, I'm not going to let this hold me back.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, fear it's a trap for yourself.
That's right.
I just think it's a choice.
Ability to compartmentalize. It seems to me that's harder for women to do than for men.
Really?
I don't know. I mean,
because my husband thinks he's terrible at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dwight is like, he doesn't compartmentalize well.
Yeah.
Whereas I can just take something on the surface, on its face, and say, okay, I'm going to deal with that, or I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'll either deal with it now, or I'll put it in a box and I'll revisit that when the time is right.
I'm a professional at that.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can
Same.
do that with that. I mean, I could put it on that shelf, and I don't have to visit again until
Same.
I want to, or may not want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's a little dusty. It can collect more dust.
I think that's a gift from God, be able to do that. I mean,
do too.
Because it makes it possible for you to move forward without these chains hanging off of you.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of anything in my life, whether it's positive or negative. I don't like lingering.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm not enjoying the moment, but it's on to the next one.
Yeah.
I don't need to linger in the tragedies and traumas of my life.
That's right.
I don't need to revisit that. I can, but a lot of people choose to linger in that narrative.
Sure.
Whereas in my mind, I just like to hit, it's like a CD player, I'm just going to hit the next.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next track.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm wired, I guess.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't. And I hope that more people feel like, you know what? I keep hearing the same song on loop and it's the same narrative that I'm not good enough or I'm not this or, I don't have that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hit the next button.
Yeah.
We don't need to keep playing the same sad songs in our lives.
And think about how much you give up by not doing something because of fear. And how the opportunities you give up, the relationships you give up, the friendships that you could have built, the adventure that you could have had, the success that you could have had. And so fear is always there to tell you, no, you aren't good enough. No, you can't do this. No. No. And you have to be able to win that battle, that inner conversation, and win that battle.
Yeah.
And so compartmentalizing is a great. It's one way.
One tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it Matthew 7, like 13, 14, it's where don't take the wide road for it's the path that's easy and leads to destruction, but take the narrow road because it's hard and it's God's destiny. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, it's the way of life.
It's the way of life.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I think about it. Like the easy way out is usually not the predestined way for you to find freedom and find glory for yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so let's summarize here a little bit.
Okay.
So you grow up in a house that's pretty secular.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really. It's got some moral things to it, but it's not really. God's not really ever mentioned or having a relationship. You go to the University of Tennessee, and I assume you continue to live secularly there.
Mm-hmm.
You graduate. And then what do you begin to do? Because you and I met several years after you graduated.
Not long. We met 2 years after I was graduated. I was 23 when we met.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated in 2008, December of 2008. Great time to graduate college in the at the beginning of the Great Recession.
Right.
So there are no jobs.
Yeah.
And so what I thought would be the worst thing that ever happened, I graduate without a job. I move back home into my dad's house. I go work with my dad. Like, I just kind of thought that this is failure to launch.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like subject to the timing of the markets and whatever. Okay, again, this ended up being God's greatest blessing.
Yeah.
That after trying to find any other job for 4 months, I kind of, let's say, interned at the front desk. I was the mailroom person at my dad's company.
Sure.
Because I was interviewing, I was trying to find any other job but then to work for him. But at the time, there were only like Ponzi schemes or pyramid schemes hiring.
Right.
And I just thought, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So finally, I yielded and took a job working with my dad. And I started in inside sales, selling educational software to school districts. So the great irony of my life really has, up to this point, has been like, I hate school. I absolutely hate school. I love to learn. I hate the tests. I'm not anxious. I just hate doing it.
Yeah.
You know? But there I am working with school districts every day, helping to ensure that kids can read and write and do math on grade level, because we have a reading literacy epidemic in our nation right now. And we've been trying to solve that. My dad's company has been trying to solve that since its founding in 1999. So I started working there, and then about 2 years, or maybe a year into working there, my dad was really close with June Jones, former SMU football coach, and he invited my dad to go to American Samoa.
Right.
And my dad was like, well, Jenny, why don't you come along?
Yeah.
That's the good part about working with your dad.
That's right.
You know, you can
Take
tag
a business
along.
trip.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
Exactly. And so there I am.
Yeah.
Sitting halfway around the world in a diner, sitting across the table from you, to find, beginning to find my way and have a relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
I had to travel halfway around the world to find you, who I lived a mile and a half from.
Away. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. At the time, I was the chaplain for the Southern Methodist University for the football team.
Yeah.
And so June was a member of our church, and he was a great friend. So he invited me to go on this trip. And so, gosh, I had no idea where American Samoa was.
I didn't either.
I mean, it was, it's a 7 or 8 hour flight to Hawaii, and then another
5 hours.
Yeah, 5 or 6 hours to get to American Samoa, and you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah. And so there we are, there's all, these people, and we have some kind of buffet, I think. Of what it was.
I can't even recall. I just see the table and you. That's my memory.
And anyway, we're eating there face to face, and we just start talking about the Lord. We had
No. You started talking about the Lord. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
What's funny, I've told you this, but 2 weeks before we go on this trip, my dad calls me into his office, and, I've got my life like in a really good place. Mm-hmm. And he said, Jenny, I've been thinking about you, and I feel like you are missing a spiritual component to your life. You right now have a 3-legged table and you're on unfirm footing. Mm-hmm. Now, this is coming from my dad, who is not, I would not say he's a religious man. He's certainly a believer.
Right.
But, he's not the guy that goes to church on the weekends.
Right.
And he practices in his way.
Right.
But for him to like call that out, he said, you don't have a table. Mm-hmm. You have a 3-legged stool right now, and it's shaky. You need a spiritual component in your life to be a fully rounded person. And 2 weeks later, I meet you.
What did you think when he told you that?
I thought,
because it kind of came out of the blue, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And my dad and I have a lot of deep conversations. Mm-hmm. I kind of thought, well, look in the mirror, buddy. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But at the same time, I just was like, okay, why are you bringing this up? Yeah. And to my dad's credit, he's such a kind of philosophical but robust. He's a robust thinker, and he wants me to have, and my sister, he wants us to have every possible experience in our lives. To really get the fullness of life. And he knows that having a spiritual component in our life is part of that experience.
Yeah.
And so he's the one that's always encouraged us to find a church, find a relationship with the Lord, find what faith means.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, okay, well, I'm open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, I'm sitting across having breakfast, sitting across the table having breakfast with you.
I mean, if you look back, it was really a process that God used, right? I mean, and I came along in that process.
Yeah.
But, you didn't, we prayed together, I think, didn't we?
So we went to American Samoa, and then we came back, and you did your normal, let's have coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we met at the Starbucks coffee shop on Mockingbird, and then we prayed in the car, or we prayed there, and you shared your testimony with me. And I think so much of life is like you just being open, you know, as any human. And this is what I practice and also try to preach. It's like we should all practice openness because you never know what door or what window is going to crack open or fully open.
That's right.
Right. But if you're just open to the world and the world's experiences, you never know how fully rich they can be.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of how.
And that's how I've learned to be open to people that I know don't think like I think, because they may be right. So you want to listen with an openness, right?
Yeah.
And living an open, having that openness in your heart and in your life really makes room for some amazing experiences.
It really does.
Yeah. So you pray to receive Christ, and I would just say about you took the prayer and you started moving forward. It was not fast.
No, it was very slow.
It was very slow, and it took a while. But you were serious about it. You wanted it to be authentic. You wanted it to be real. You weren't going to play a game. You weren't going to mess around. And so, kind of describe that process for us.
Well, I would say so. It took 6 years from the time I was 23 to when I was 29 to finally make the choice that I was going to be a real believer and follow Christ and get baptized again. I mean, I don't think like communion or what do you call it? Confirmation. You know, when you're 12,
right?
What do you know?
Exactly.
So I like to think that between like 23 to 29, it was like putting one toe in, you know, at a time and like really taking it slow. And I would show up to church and I'd be alone. Often I'd just come alone.
Right.
You know, sometimes my parents would join me, but I just kind of kept showing back up. But it was also one of those things, like I kept showing up, but I wasn't connected.
Yeah.
You know, I always remember you'd be like, hey, what are you doing? You want to be in a small group? I'm like, no, I'm traveling. I always had, it wasn't excuses. It just was not a cornerstone of my life yet.
Yeah, right.
I was traveling, I was working, I was getting my life going. And that was exciting to me, but I still wanted to stay plugged in enough.
Yeah.
You know, because my favorite thing at Trinity is always like, oh, so nice to meet you when we shake hands. People are always like, how long have you been coming here? You know, it's everyone's first question, you know? And like at some point I was like, I think like 16 years. Someone goes, oh my gosh, you know?
That's great.
But it was a very slow process. And then my birthday, June 24th when I was 29, I just went for a run. I think I was hungover, and so I needed to sweat out. And I don't know what was happening, but I just decided I was living at the Village here in Dallas. So I went for a run, and I just decided I was not going to go into my 30s not knowing God.
Wow.
And again, it's just, I'm not going to have fear about this. I don't know anything. I've been listening. I've been praying, maybe not like consistently, but I keep showing up and I keep listening. So much about life is just showing up.
That's right.
Right. And then suddenly, after you show up enough, you find yourself moved.
That's right. And
it took me 6 years. And then but I was like, I just don't want to go into my 30s not knowing God.
Yeah.
And so that was the choice that I made. And you went and hiked Mount Kilimanjaro of August that year.
Right.
And I couldn't make that work because you invited me and I really wanted to go. But that was like for August, it's like our busiest season, so I couldn't do it. So I went and hiked Kilimanjaro over Christmas.
Yeah, that's right.
And we summited. So my two best friends, my friend Zach, he's Jewish. My friend Maheen, she's Muslim. And I've decided I was going to be a Christian at that point. Yeah. So the three of us walked up this mountain.
Three great religions of the world.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And we each walked up that mountain for a different reason, but I went to go find God. And he and we found each other like 4 a.m. on January 1st as I was summiting the mountain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great story.
Well, it's all thanks to you. You know, I wouldn't have hiked Mount Kilimanjaro. What the heck do I know about climbing mountains? But you were like, hey, let's go do this. And couldn't make it at the time, but I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, this is consistent. I believe that, like many people, I'm closest to God when I'm in nature.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget this as long as I live. When you're hiking up at summit night or summit morning, because you start at 1 a.m.
Right.
Well, we chose to summit on January 1st of 2015. And, when you're waking up in the new year and you're literally on top of the world,
Mm-hmm.
you see the world open up to you in such a beautiful way. But, you're hiking up and there's so many stars and you're so close to the stars, they're tangled in your hair, right?
Yeah.
You can just pick them out of the sky and it's just switch back and switch back and switch back. And it's nauseating.
Yeah. Snail's pace. I mean,
oh my
it's
God.
just, oh.
We had to abandon our friend Zach because, his feet, when you walk, your gait, you're supposed to have space
That's
in
right.
between your feet. Well, he didn't have space in between his gait. And it's really hard for me to walk slow.
Yeah.
So we had to abandon him so we could go.
Yeah.
Well, all that being said, 4 a.m. in the morning, we've been hiking up for 3 hours at this point to the summit. And I just start talking. There's nothing to do. So I'm just talking to God. And as long, it is the most profound moment of my life because I'm talking to God and all of a sudden I see a hand on top of mine, like a physical hand, and it's outlined in red. And I thought, oh my God, I'm hallucinating. And then so I like Bugs Bunny and like, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
So I shake my head back awake and there's a hand still on top of my hand. It's this invisible hand. And I realize that I'm not hallucinating, but that Jesus is walking next to me.
Wow.
And
I don't think I've ever heard that.
really?
Yeah. Wow.
Now, I know I am completely affirmed. There's not a shred of doubt in my mind that Jesus was walking next to me for the first time in my life. And he said, here's clear as day. He said, I have always been with you. Because I thought he abandoned me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I really thought that he didn't love me, that I just wasn't one of his little sheep, his little lambs. And so, but he said to me with his hand on top of mine, I've always loved you and I've always been here.
Wow.
And so not only did I get to hike this fabulous mountain, I got the fullness of the experience that I was chasing after.
Wow. What an amazing story.
And then, yeah.
I don't remember you telling me that. That's so powerful.
Yeah, it was so powerful.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, I'm never looking back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, it only took 15 years
That's okay.
after, I was ready to receive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the other thing as I reflect on my life. If you practice openness, eventually the ability for you to receive when the time is right will come to fruition.
Yeah.
And sometimes those things might take a very long time.
Yeah.
But that's okay. If you are consistent, you practice that openness.
Well, you came back off that mountain and you were different.
Excuse me. Yeah.
And you sort of made some decisions. That's when you decided you were going to go back to school and get your master's, right?
Yeah.
And so you go back to school. You're working full time and going to school full time, basically, right?
Brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal. I remember those days.
Remember that chaos? I thrive in chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember those. I mean, by the time it was to graduate, you were ready.
Yeah.
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 And so now you're working with your dad. I mean, you're traveling all over the world. You guys were, Asia. You guys were everywhere. And you decide somewhere in there you want to maybe get involved in politics. How did that come about?
So when I was working at iStation, I would run our kind of government relations practice because school districts are small bureaucracies.
Right.
And so you need to have kind of a strategy for working within the government sector of public education. Yeah. And so I ran that for our company. And I had lunch one day with a congressman and a bunch of my peers. I was hosting a luncheon for a congressman. He looked me dead in the eyes. And these are all peers of mine and mostly men. Mm-hmm. And he goes, Genevieve, you need to run for Congress. You can beat Colin Allred.
Yeah.
This is 2019 at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, who are you talking about?
Is there another Jenny in the room?
Yeah, is there another Jenny here?
Yeah.
Like, and meanwhile, like, imagine, being in a room of 20 men and, you're one of two women and the guy looks at the woman, instead of all these, highfalutin kind of real young gun type guys. And, you could see like someone put a pin in them and it's like, ooh, it's like all the air sucked out of them.
Yeah.
And so anyways, so that was the first impetus where I was like, well, that's
Pete?
interesting.
Was that Pete who talked to you?
No, it's Lance Gooden.
Lance Gooden.
He was in the district next door. He's still the congressman for Congressional District 5. And I said, well, that's an odd thing. So then I went and hiked a big, Havasupai Falls.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big trip in Arizona with a couple of my friends. And it was like 4 days, and we camped and all this. And for me, just being in nature is how I get closest to God.
Mm-hmm.
Just is. And when you can hear silence, you can hear that God's whispers. It's like tuning into His frequency and His channel. And everything on that trip, that hiking trip, that I thought about or talked about was political, or what would that look like? How would I talk about this issue? What issues really matter to me?
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing. And I kept hearing God talk to me, like at night in the quietness of my own head.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, my God, this is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
These are not conversations I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided maybe I should be obedient and actually look into this. So I did. And ultimately, I decided that I don't know beans about running for office. I've never run for anything in my life, much less go start at the top at Congress. But why not? Someone's got to do it. Why not me?
Yeah.
It's again that no fear gene.
No fear.
No fear. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't want an octogenarian making decisions for my life at 34 years old at the time. I feel like I have a unique perspective, and I wanted to demonstrate that you can be thoughtful and reasonable. You can be conservative, but compassionate and embrace people, not constantly push people away. And that you can have a sense of fiscal responsibility and business acumen that I think Congress so desperately needed at the time. P.S. still needs.
Yeah, obviously.
And I thought, why not me?
Yeah.
And so I went for it.
Yeah.
And that journey was remarkable, but it was truly, as Pastor Derek here kind of explained, these are his words that I've kind of taken for my life. It's God will call you into what is designed for you.
Yeah.
Are you obedient enough to listen and to do?
Yeah.
And taking a big step, I mean, no one thought I should run for office. Let me rephrase. Like two people, my dad,
me, I did.
And you.
Yeah,
that was about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in my family were like, what the heck are you even talking about? You've never run for anything.
Yeah.
You need to get married. You need to start a family. And then you can start at the bottom at PTA.
Yeah.
And I thought, why?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you had a lot of stuff you had to overcome.
Yeah.
And really, all that pushback from people really tests your resolve.
Totally.
Right? So it's not a bad thing.
No.
It's really a good thing. And so the pressure that you have, the pushback that you have, the mockery or making fun of you, or all that stuff is really test the resolve.
Yeah.
God, did you really say this?
Right.
Do you really want me to do it? Right? And so when you know that God's speaking to you, then with that it's going to come this persecution, this testing time, and really that's critical, because it really sets your resolve. Hey, I'm going to do this. It's not for me. I'm going to do this because God spoke to me, told me, talked to me about it.
Yeah. No one truly, people are like, Jenna, who? What is your name? Yeah. You've never done this. You've never done that. I mean, it was a lot of roadblocks at the beginning, but I just thought, the worst thing I can do is lose.
Yeah.
And in my mind, losing is like the thing that I hate the most in life. I always ask people, my final interview question, 100% of the time, it's always, there's no wrong answer. I just want to know how you approach this. Do you hate to lose or do you love to win, and why? I hate to lose.
Yeah.
So imagine, like, that is like my guiding compass. I hate losing, and I'm going to go run for Congress, where it's very unknown.
In a Democratic
in a Democrat-controlled district. I'm like, what is wrong with me? But I just was like, okay, this is going to be it. Now, we can talk a lot about different components of this, but I'll say the most important thing about my journey running for office is twofold. I hate losing.
Yeah.
I lost the race in November of 2020. Yeah. I lost a congressional bid, but I absolutely won at life. And by that, I mean, I met my husband by running for office. But more importantly, and this is the second point I would make, running for office allowed me to challenge every belief system I had. So when you're running for office, you got to know like 70 different things. Yeah. You're constantly asked about the issue du jour, and you have to have a point of view or a perspective. Right. People demand that of you.
That's reasonable and defendable, right?
Reasonable is subjective, but you have to be able to defend your point of view. And a lot of what I did during that time, I'm 33 or 34 at the time, I went through and challenged every belief system I had because I needed to understand, why do I believe something about healthcare or something about education or immigration, name the issue. I need to know what I believe so that way I can actually articulate what policy changes I would make and why. Now, that's how I approached it. I don't know if that's how other candidates approached it, but I didn't want to reiterate other people's talking points. Right. I wanted it to be authentic for me because I'm going to be challenged in a Democrat district. Why do I believe the things that I do? And I want to be able to articulate it without sounding like a moron. Yeah. And I don't want to stumble. Right. And so what a gift. At 34 years old, I found how to be resolute within myself. Wow. I found that I have a unique point of view, but I know who I am because I know what I believe, and I am unshakable now because I know what that is. Wow. If every high school junior, senior could hear that and apply that to their life, what a great thing that would be. It's just, you know who you are, and you have a confidence, and a security in who you are because you've got something to back up what you're saying. Yeah. And for us as Christians, of course, it's Jesus. It's the Word of God. It's your conviction as a follower of Jesus. Yeah. And what's so cool now, as opposed to then, just over these few short years, more and more people, politicians particularly, have come out now and share this. The basis of everything that I'm doing is a relationship with Jesus Christ. I heard Marco Rubio the other day share the gospel better than I can. And I've heard more pastors say that. Yeah. Truly.
Yeah. And I just said, golly, I mean, this is a making of a revival. Yeah. And a move of God. And so something was happening in those days as you were dealing with your own, hey, how can I be authentic? And it kicked off something. Something started in those days that now we're beginning to see the fruit from, I think.
Well, I think people are yearning for purpose in a often highly misleading world. You can live in any echo chamber you want, but people are looking for truth and are looking for purpose. And the church is a beautiful way to find that. I mean, that's what you preach on every day. You find God's purpose for your life. Yeah. That's your message. That's been your message for the last however many years.
How long we've known each other. Yeah. And I always think this too is that the first key to finding your purpose is really finding your people. And so finding a local church where you've been called to and you build relationships with and you do life with those people, that right there is the number one thing I think a person can do to really finding their destiny and their purpose, because it's wrapped up in the people that you do life with.
Yeah.
And so I've seen you live that out, seen you do that.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Thanks to your very guiding hand.
Well, it's been a joy and been fun, right? And so I'm very, very grateful for it. Thanks for being with me today. I mean, there's so much more I want to talk to you about. I'll invite you back and we want to talk about more. But, you know, Genevieve, your life has been amazing, and you're just getting started. I mean, you've just come into, I can look back at my life and I can say, okay, these were my formative years growing up. These were my high school years. This is what it was like in college when I first moved to Dallas. Getting married, you can have all these little subsections of your life, and you've just only begun to live. I mean, you really have great days ahead of you.
Thank you.
Are you going to run for office again?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will.
Good.
I will when the time is right, and if there is a seat and if it's God's will. I mean, I really believe that people need to be called. I think there's a lot of people that think God's calling them to run for office. So I'm always wary about saying that. But I think God will make the path very clear if it is my destiny.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to force that.
Yeah.
But I love serving people. I love public policy. I think the thing is, I just love people.
Yeah.
And the best part about running for office, you get to meet people.
so many people.
And you hear their stories and you hear their struggles. And you hear the opportunities that are ahead and that you can create to help someone's life.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, what a blessing. Oftentimes the biggest opportunity politically is not in Congress or not in Washington, D.C., but it's locally, it's around your neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope to have all of life's experiences.
Yeah.
That's really one thing that's important to me. I want to have all of life's experiences. And hopefully that will be serving the great people of Texas in a formal capacity. But if it's not, I will continue to serve in any way I know how to.
Well, hey, I'm in. So I was a poll watcher when you ran before. I may even step up to walk neighborhood canvassing.
Block walking's fun.
Yeah.
No, I love you. I appreciate you so much.
I love you too, Genevieve. I'm so proud of you and so great to be together today. And I'm looking forward to what the Lord does in your life and you and Dwight and now baby Duke.
Baby Duke.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being a part of this. If this is kind of content that you like, that you enjoy, and if you've gotten something out of this today, I'd really appreciate it if you just check the like button and maybe even subscribe, because every week I want to bring to you something that would be minister to you, encourage you, and give you hope, and maybe even give you a strategy for your life. And so, Genevieve, it's been great having you today, and thank you for being with us. God bless you guys, and thank you for being with us today. I hope you've enjoyed the God Seekers podcast. Hey, thank you for joining us for this episode of the God Seeker podcast. If this is something you enjoyed, we'd love it if you took a moment just to hit like and subscribe, maybe share it with a friend. But we want to produce the kind of content that inspires, encourages, and equips you in your walk with God. So until we see each other again, keep seeking God. God bless you.